Welcome to the Higher Ed Geek Podcast, where we explore the impact of EdTech on the student experience with engaging, fun, and relevant conversations that honor the wide range of work happening all across the higher ed ecosystem. I'm your host, Dustin Ramsdell. I've been working in and around higher ed for the past decade, focused on student support and digital experience. Join me every week for discussions with some of the best minds in education technology who will be bringing you their perspectives on how digital transformation is reshaping the way we recruit, engage, and graduate learners. You'll hear firsthand accounts of how institutional leaders are developing their strategy, as well as get deeper on the stories of how these EdTech tools are being built to foster better student outcomes. With that, let's get to today's episode.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Higher Ed Geek Podcast, episode number 314, with Brian Hartnack, founder and CEO of Archer Education. And as the title of this episode implies, we talk about why faculty are your secret marketing weapon, something that I've really been interested in for a while now, just of how do you leverage these really credible experts to help elevate the brand of your institution and just make you distinguished and known and make it more accessible to just kind of the community at large, but certainly, hopefully, also prospective students at your institution. I appreciate Brian jumping on for this episode number 314 with Brian Hartnack. So I've known of Archer Education for quite a while now, but really excited for this opportunity to speak with you, Brian, get to know your story a little bit better, get to know the work that you're doing with you and your team there at Archer, and then getting your perspective on everything that has been happening and may come to pass here, and how marketing leaders can really get some good sort of pointers from your perspective and your experience working with the institutions that you do. But before we get too far, Brian, if you want to briefly introduce yourself and give a brief overview of your professional background, and then we'll get more into current events and things happening in digital marketing and higher ed.
Thanks for having me on, Dustin. It just happened that my time in college kind of coincided with the dot-com boom. I was at a time when I was seeing my peers, they were raising VC funding straight out of college and pursuing all sorts of interesting ideas. So I just got lured into the world of business from that and began my career in product management. I worked at one of the kind of famous dot-coms, a company called eToys, which was a really interesting experience for me. It was a spectacular implosion. In 18 months, they went from a $7 billion valuation to going out of business. I learned a ton about what not to do in business there. So that was a great starting experience. And then I was very fortunate to immediately go right across the street to another startup that was called Rent.com. And myself and a small team that I worked with there, within a very short period, we built the nation's largest apartment rental website. It was a really fulfilling experience. We sold that company to eBay for $500 million in 2005. And that really led me into higher ed. So myself and a small team of friends of mine from Rent.com, we decided that what we wanted to do was take everything that we had just learned from this Rent.com experience and apply it to a new consumer vertical. And we looked at higher ed. This was in 2006. And we felt, wow, here's a really interesting vertical that is really behind the times. The internet was just starting, but there was nothing like Zillow for higher education. So it looked like it was an area where experienced digital marketers at that point in time could really come in and bring a lot of expertise and kind of new approaches. So we identified that gap in the market, and that was the start of Archer, which at the time we were called campusexplorer.com. We were really trying to be that Zillow for higher education.
Now, we're recording this January 2026. What is like a short summary of the work that Archer does with institutions? And you've been a part of the team there, leading it and everything for a really long time. Like just some reflections, I guess, on maybe like how that work has changed over that period of time.
So at the highest level, we're helping colleges and universities reach and recruit adult students for online programs. We do help on traditional ground programs as well, but most of our work is really reaching that modern learner and helping universities grow their online programs. And so that's everything from enrollment strategy to marketing, enrollment management. And now in 2026, this is really increasingly becoming how we are evolving into AI-enabled enrollment management. And in terms of how we partner with universities, I'd say we're a bit different than anyone else who's out there. So we really customize our partnerships based on kind of the unique needs and opportunities and goals and challenges facing each institution that we work with. So we don't have a cookie cutter approach. So our job is really to formulate a partnership that is going to position our institutions to really achieve their goals. And over time, that is a really flexible partnership model. So we grow with the institutions that we're serving. Over time, that may mean adding new services that they need, or it can even be removing services. So maybe this year we're providing enrollment management, but next year it's really important for them to begin growing that function internally. So that's where we would help them do that. And that's really, from our perspective, the formula to a long-term successful partnership.
I think that work is always been really interesting to me, is like how these digital education offerings, whatever they are specifically, I guess, is how they're built, sustained, and how they mature. So I think that is like turning point of like now at this point of like digital education in the US, at least, is like a lot of institutions have gotten into the game now, and now it's just shaking out a little bit differently, where I think maybe people were a little too having dollar signs in their eyes of just being like, oh, we got to get in the game. We got to do this. We're just going to make all this money, whatever. So now it's just changing. It was like, yes, I think we all kind of accepted like online courses and whatever else in your portfolio is here to stay. That flexibility, I guess that's just resonating with me, that idea that is like the hallmark of what you do. And the idea that now it's going to be looking like dozens of different forms and shapes of digital education happening in institutions versus there was like an archetype for a while, especially like the peak OPM days. So I think if you want to speak to a little bit of that experience that you've had over nearly 2 decades at the helm of Archer Education, what's kept you engaged in the work and how has that work changed over that time?
When we started this, we were a company that was providing super high quality inquiries to institutions. And that was, we had millions of visitors to our website. And early on, we were in this inquiry generation business, but what we found was we were limited in our opportunities to grow the company simply by what institutions were out there who knew how to take a high quality inquiry and turn that into an enrollment. And this is actually pre-OPM days. There were very few schools out there that could do this right. And so we had this realization that we needed to enable institutions to be good at marketing and enrollment, to the actual functions of marketing and enrollment. Just simply selling leads to them was not going to be a good growth opportunity for us. And so that's when we really diversified and we moved into a whole bunch of functions that really match a lot of what OPMs did for universities, but we did it on a fee-for-service basis. And we did it with really long-term ownership of these capabilities going back to the university, having that concept in mind. This is really no slight against the OPMs. They had a very standard model, and they still do today for the most part. In order for them to make their model work, it requires a cookie cutter approach. And we felt like there was this kind of big open space of institutions that were taking a longer term view around online education and kind of viewing it as, look, this is going to be around. It's here to stay. We want to have much more control over what we're going to be doing in this area. And we've got a need to grow this profitably and in a way that really respects the brand of our institution. And with that in mind, we really formulated our services around that. As you can imagine, doing this for almost 20 years, I've seen an enormous amount of change. Let's think back to the day that we received our first round of funding when we first launched this company. It was the same day that my first child was born. And when I think back about how old this company is, I just have to look at him and say, okay, he's turning 19 in June. So I've been at this for a while now. It's been a great ride for me. I started this company with people that I've worked with now for close to 25 years because my co-founders, I worked with them at previous companies. So it's been an incredible experience for me. I think in terms of what's really kept me super interested in this at all points in time, and it just keeps getting more interesting, is that everything continues to evolve. I have been involved in every single phase of search engine marketing, going back to the pre-Google days. And change has been constant. I think right now people look at it and say, oh my gosh, AI answers are coming along. This changes everything. And this is just like the next step in the evolution. We started this company before mobile was really a big thing, before social media and YouTube was just a gimmick, not a core piece of kind of the marketer's playbook. And I've gotten to live through all of these changes and develop offerings to serve the needs of institutions each step of that. And so that's been really interesting for us. In 2018, that was when we changed our name to Archer Education. That really was to reflect our change as a company, going from this kind of consumer-facing website to really a company that partners deeply with universities to help them grow their online education. So in a way, that was a transitionary phase for the company, almost feels the second chapter for us in this. So that's been really interesting. I would say probably the thing that has sustained my interest the most, though, has just been the focus on higher ed. Since I started doing this 20 years ago, it really just sucks people in. I've seen very few people who've come from other areas leave this category once they're in it. And I think there's a few reasons for that. It's a big space. It's absolutely vital to the economy. It's vital to the future of so many Americans. And it's a sector that's facing huge challenges right now that kind of have to be addressed urgently. So that keeps it really dynamic at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing more, just like context and details. Obviously, these are like very new, different things that you do have to like learn, and that can just be just really like engaging and like a good opportunity for people to keep things fresh. But then like at the end of the day, the AI summaries and all that is reinforcing certain fundamentals. And I think there's a lot of things with, okay, yeah, now there's this new thing called Facebook or whatever. It was like, you still just need to use compelling language that's relevant. It's just that idea of there's like that kind of interesting sort of interplay or kind of balance of in this kind of work, just like the digital marketing side, it's the idea of what's old is new again. You just got to really kind of stick to the fundamentals, but keep plugged in on the pulse of the different tools and ways to utilize those fundamentals. The silly thing that I thought of is I know there's like marketing agencies out there that like specialize in dentists. Oh, we really do marketing for dentists. There's going to be somebody out there where that's their jam. I love dentistry, but my way to support it is by being a marketing agency that helps them get more patients or whatever.
I don't think if I had been involved in, and previously I did work in other sectors, and I would say that there's just no way that some of those other categories would have held my attention over time. If I'd been working on something trivial, I don't know, timeshares or automotive, I think I just would have gotten bored. I can been to those types of industry and trade conferences, and they're just draining, right? You kind of are looking for the exit door. Whereas in higher ed, there's just always something new, and they're just super smart people involved in it. And so it's always really just kind of fulfilling for you to stay involved in it.
Yeah. This next question is a hot take, I guess. What I thought about would be interesting to get your perspective on is what you think is an underutilized asset in an institution's marketing tool belt. Because I think that's the idea. Like this institution has a lot of different stakeholders, whether it's a prospective student, parents and families, alumni, like whatever else, like just anything from your kind of current experience right now, what you feel like is an underutilized asset for institutional marketing.
Institutions are not leveraging their faculty nearly enough to grow their brand presence. That's like a secret weapon that's out there and available to them. And it goes back to the point you were making about kind of where, what we previously called search engine optimization. Now it's changing to new terms like generative AI engine optimization and AI answer optimization. It really goes back to how you manage your brand online. And kind of that whole category is becoming much more interesting now because it's all about it's not just what you do on your website, it's how do you manage your brand across the web. That's the secret to the future. And an important component of that can be, for institutions, is how you leverage your faculty on that. And so I'll just go a little deeper on that. In the last year, we've seen organic referrals to institution websites has declined by about 25%. And that is directly due to the advent of things like ChatGPT and AI overviews and things like that. And it's mostly in higher ed, it's this loss in kind of top of funnel traffic. So it's not like necessarily best organic traffic, but we've seen this decline. There are other categories that have lost 70, 80% of traffic due to this. So the impacts have been a little bit less in higher ed, but the trend is here. And universities need to be thinking how they respond to this immediately. There's starting to be a pretty clear playbook out there in terms of how you should think about having really robust, rounded out content that really fills out the knowledge graph. There's new components of technical SEO and link building that are now more important than before. But the piece that I'll just really emphasize here is how you can leverage your faculty. And so we do that through something that we call academic thought leadership. It's really about getting your faculty and highlighting their research as this core strategy here, as their view on industries, touting the research that they're doing. How do you get them featured in mainstream media? How do you get them guest articles in different industry journals and things like that? That's going to drive really credible authority for your brand online. And there's a step after that. There are plenty of institutions that are doing a good job featuring their faculty, running PR for them. But the next step down from that is how do you amplify that then? So don't just get them featured in the New York Times. And we successfully do that for our partners all the time. Now you got to get it out onto your website. You got to get it into your social media. You really need to just promote that everywhere, because that's really the food that the LLMs are looking for at this point. It's great for really promoting the authority of your brand, and it's how you're going to get citations in the future. I looked at a study that said the majority of AI citations today are coming from earned media and journalism. So this is this new category. You can do it yourself. You can hire a company like Archer to do it for you. It's really a tactic that if you ignore it, you're going to see a drop in some of your most valuable traffic and some of your most interested students in the coming year.
I've felt the same for a long time. Is that, it's just like an underutilized resource to be getting them like nowadays, like guesting on podcasts in the relevant professional areas. And maybe you create that vehicle for them of some sort of show to feature your faculty members and their teaching methods or research and that sort of thing. To me, like that's like more of a stake behind the sizzle of what a lot of institutions do, like routinely uplift of just being like, we're highly ranked on this, that, the other. And that's good. Like, great. You earned that. Like, you earned that kind of notoriety and that acclaim and that award or whatever else. But like, it is the reason why you are credible or respected or whatever else is like because of those people, like those faculty and the experiences that are creating and whatever else. It's I would imagine just back up either claims that you're making as an institution and like your marketing messaging or just like the things that you're putting out. I think that is very good advice. And I guess just to build on that, an important tool, strategy, or trend that marketing leaders in higher education should be implementing this year.
Yeah. So I'm going to probably go in the most obvious direction here and talk about AI. And specifically, kind of how you can really become ready to leverage AI for enrollment management and AI readiness. This is a topic that just keeps coming up over and over again. I was just at the ASU Immersive Innovation Summit, and this was a constant conversation there, something that we're very focused on. And just to set the stage here, some people are frustrated with the pace of AI adoption right now, and there's literally dozens of kind of AI point solutions that are available on a subscription basis that are out there in the market right now. And our view in general is that those point solutions are generally going to be a bad investment for you, probably because you're not thinking about the problem you're trying to solve. You're just responding to a slick pitch. But more importantly, the challenge for institutions to really take advantage of this and create a great experience for students and create true operational efficiency with AI is that the kind of foundational work gets skipped over. And when I talk about the foundational work, this is really enabling your data from all of your different systems to truly become interoperable. Every institution's got their SIS and their CRM, their LMS, and regardless of what may have been promised to them when they first implemented these systems, they don't talk to each other. It's that simple. Each one of them has a totally different concept and identifier of a student. And you'll find that the same student has 3 different records in the SIS, and they may have many records in the CRM. And so this kind of important strategy that I think institutions need to go after right now, and this doesn't just apply to universities, this applies to whether you're Delta Airlines or State Farm or ASU, you have to be thinking about this, is how do you create, and it's called master data management, how do you create a singular view of every customer, right? And it's not just a solution that you just go buy and implement. This has to be thoughtfully done in a way that's really unique to your set of systems that you have. And not only do you have to build this singular view of your customer, but you have to maintain it every day. There's an operational component to it, which is deduplicating records. And as one system changes, changing how they feed together. So it requires constant management. But the end result is once you've got this concept, this kind of singular view of every customer, any data warehouse you have is going to be 10 times more informative because it's got one view of the customer. But more importantly, that then creates the possibility of AI interactions that are seamless with your human interactions and that have true context and knowledge of who the customer is. So I'll just illustrate an example of kind of what this could look like. Imagine somebody fills out an inquiry and you've got the opportunity to engage them in an AI chat right at that moment. Okay. They're going to share some information with you about themselves. They're going to tell you, I'm married, I've got 2 kids, and my work is going to help pay for this. And I want to go get my MBA or my master's in healthcare administration. They're going to provide all this great information for you. That context now needs to carry over because now that chat can lead to scheduling an interview with an enrollment manager. Now, a couple of days later, they're going to chat with that enrollment manager. You don't want that student to feel like, hey, everything I just did in chat was completely lost. Now I'm completely starting from scratch. I'm re-explaining myself to the enrollment manager. You want them to show up to that call and they know everything about that person. And now they can probe deeper. And all of that context from those 2 interactions is now going to be captured, transcripted, summarized. And now guess what? That's going to go into the nudging process, right? You're going to hyper-personalized nudges that knows exactly what's important to this person and it knows where they are at in applying and enrolling to school. They're going to know, hey, on Tuesday next week, we need to have your transcript submitted. And so they're going to be able to have super personalized nudges from that point forward. So all of this is really, there is no just one-off software solution that you can buy that's going to solve this problem. Your job as an institution is not to build the AI. Your job is to create the foundation that allows you to then leverage AI. And that's the hard work that needs to be done right now by every institution. Now, we provide that for all of our partners as part of how we do enrollment management. We've been doing that for years because what we found is we couldn't effectively run enrollment management unless we had real-time access to all of this data. If you're not working with us, you should be building it yourself.
Yeah, strategic use of AI is like a tool that like is at a point, I think, of like kind of maturation where we're getting to be at a point now where there's a little bit more substance to look at, or the path started to be shredded that I think for most people, it's okay. Like, I think now is the time to be like figuring out how you're going to do exactly what you're saying. And I think that idea of looking at it as this way to really masterfully weave together the tools that you already have to just work better together. And I think that's something where it's, there'd be huge ROI in the sense of, maybe there's upfront costs and however you're going about doing that as part of your strategy, because I think that is sometimes where it is. You might be doing this sort of like bit and piece kind of thing where it's, we have the chatbot thing here. Yeah, I gathered that data. It did maybe a good job at doing that, but it's this island over here where they filled out a form to get on the radar of that enrollment manager. But then, there's just miles apart or whatever.
Yeah, when it doesn't matter how good that technology was that you purchased there, if it's not working seamlessly with everything else that you have, it's just going to result in a bad experience. And it's not the fault of the point solutions. And a lot of these kind of early AI point solutions that are out there, it's cost prohibitive for them to solve your data problems, right? They can't get into the business of, they're selling you something that's $5,000, $10,000 a month. They can't get burdened by your data problems. And so they end up implementing something that you fundamentally can't use or just doesn't deliver on the experience or the operational efficiency. So lay that foundation, focus on AI readiness, and then watch all of the different applications that you're then going to be able to come up with. They're going to be able to really seamlessly weave into the experience. And so that's the big challenge. That everyone needs to
now
overcome.
is the time, I think, for many reasons. Yeah, like where it's, I think the tools are getting just like better at kind of meeting that goal that I think a lot of people would have to have just a better kind of interconnected tech stack. And then, I think just like the moment of the continued turbulence and whatever else, I think that is how you try to build a moat around yourself a little bit. It's just have your tools work better together and creating a better experience for prospective current students and all that is, okay, like we're really, I believe, would be in a far stronger position to navigate those very choppy waters because you've got as strong of a footing as you can in terms of like your foundation of just how you know who people are, what they have or haven't done or what they need or those sort of things. Yeah, that's really great perspective. Appreciate you sharing that. But we will wrap up with our closing question that we always end on. Final thought, call to action. If you want, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just going to put a finer point on what we just talked about, which is as an institution, we're at this critical point now. And if you don't focus on laying the foundation to be ready for what's possible in AI, you're going to be at a massive competitive disadvantage going forward because some of your competitors are going to solve this problem and they're going to be the ones that are recognized and they're going to be able to lower their overhead in managing enrollment. They're going to be able to create a better consumer experience. They're going to leave you in the dust. So it's hard work. It's hard to get this on the roadmap for what to accomplish in 2026, but the time to do this is now. It may take 12 months to even begin to bear fruit for you, but it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah, it's like you got to plant the seeds at the right time so that you can get the harvest later. All really great stuff. I've been an admirer of you all, knowing of you and your work for a while. So really appreciate this opportunity to hear more about your story and the work that Archer is doing and your perspective on all the things that are happening right now when it comes to digital marketing and enrollment management in higher ed. And we'll have ways to connect with you and Archer in the episode description. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Dustin. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Geek podcast. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow. So be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.